Tom Jones,
Here.
George Capps, Brandy Bailey, Jim Schrader. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight, Ben's going to lead us in the invocation, and Melvin's going to lead in the pledge. If everybody please stand.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us, for the rain that we've had over the weekend, and now for the sunshine and the cool weather. As we come in here tonight, for the decisions to be made, we ask that you give us wisdom, that you give us guidance, and that your blessing would be upon tonight. Be with our residents here in our city. Continue to keep them safe. Watch over each one. And the Lord, again, we ask for your help tonight. Thank you, Lord, for the country that we live in. Thank you for the leaders that you've placed in charge, and we ask that you give wisdom and direction to them as well. We love you, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. George? Ben?
A second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. Tonight we have a couple of things under awards and presentations, and we're going to start with, are you going to do it, or Zach? Or Dana, sorry. You're it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am happy, as always, to come forward and be in front of you. Most especially happy this evening because one of the best things that I get to do is to introduce new employees. And so this evening, I'm going to introduce to you Sean Carter. And Sean, if you would come forward, please. Sean is joining our team in the position of wastewater tech. And he comes to us with 3 years of similar experience. He has had the experience that we need working on lift stations and working in the water department. And most especially valuable to us, he comes to us with a Water 1 and a Wastewater 1 certification license through the state of Kansas. So that is a very valuable asset to bring to us. The icing on the cake is he is a Park City resident. So with all of those valuable assets, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Tom Carter.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Well, we're glad to have you a part of the team. So
I appreciate it.
we look forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And Chief Boston?
Mr. Mayor, council members, it's my pleasure this evening to present a couple of life-saving awards. And so I'll just read what I have here. On January 25th, 2020, at approximately 8:15 p.m., Officers Gary Palmer and Jordan Whitfield were dispatched to check on the welfare of a person in the area of 61st Street North and Broadway. Officers Palmer and Whitfield arrived in the area about 4 minutes later and saw an adult male standing on the south sidewalk in the middle of the 61st Street Bridge over the Chisholm Creek. The bridge was under construction, so there was no place for them to park on the bridge. Both officers parked their patrol vehicles on Aircap Drive, just south of 61st Street, and walked over to the man while they gave the dispatcher their location. As they walked closer, the man put one of his legs over the railing and then both legs. The officers told the man to stop, but when the man turned away, Officer Palmer lunged forward and grabbed the man before he could jump. Officer Palmer wrapped both of his arms around the man, and Officer Whitfield grabbed both Officer Palmer and the man. The officers pulled the man back over the railing and placed him on the ground. The officers asked the man if he was okay, but he did not respond, and he began to have a seizure. The officers rolled the gentleman onto his side and held him as he experienced the seizure. They radioed for EMS to start an emergency response to their location. The man was drifting in and out of consciousness, so the officers performed sternum rubs to keep him awake until Sedgwick County EMS arrived and took over the patient. The man was transported to a Wichita hospital for medical and psychological evaluations. Park City Police Department policy states that a life-saving medal may be awarded to officers under the following provisions. And this is a quote. The life-saving medal is awarded to any member of this department whose actions significantly contribute to the saving or prolonging of the life of another by actions which are beyond the scope of duties normally performed as a member of this department. So Officers Palmer and Whitfield, I've reviewed the reports and the video recordings of the incident. I firmly believe that your quick, decisive action significantly contributed to the saving of this gentleman's life or preventing him from great bodily harm. I commend you for your bravery, your compassion, your service to this community. I'm proud that you're members of the Park City Police Department, and as the Chief of Police, it's my honor to present both of you with the life-saving medal. Come forward. Officer Gary Palmer. Letter for you as well.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you, Officer Palmer and Whitfield, for your representation of not only your department, but also the city of Park City. Thank you. That brings us to public forum. And Steve, you want to go ahead and come on up with the 4th of July Event Committee?
Well, welcome to year number 13 of our committee. This is probably the most difficult one we've had so far. At this point, we have no event scheduled, and we're trying to figure out where we're going with this. So I was hoping I might be able to get some input from the council members. I know it's not up to you guys to make a decision on what we do, but I would sure value your input. I've done a little bit of research this year, contacted several towns in the area. I'll go through the list real quick because I know you guys are, short on time always. Peabody's undecided. I spoke with Mayor Rosehill. He's a good friend of mine. They are going to go forward, but all they have is a fireworks show. Wichita's canceled. In addition, they've canceled the Riverfest, and the Sedgwick County Fair is also canceled. Wamego, which is the biggest display in the state with 50,000 attending, is also canceled. Clearwater, this hasn't been announced publicly yet, so I probably shouldn't say it, but they are most likely a no-go. Lansing's going forward. Bel Air is undecided, and I don't even know what they do, to be quite honest. El Dorado has not reached a decision. Eureka's doing fireworks only. Toronto's doing a 3-day event. Independence canceled, and Chanute is still going forward. So I was hoping to make a decision based on the other cities' decisions, but obviously we're not there yet. Just for a little bit of background, this is our last year with this event. From what I understand, next year it'll be held by the Community Resources Board. So, Community Relations Board, sorry, got that wrong. So this is kind of a tough decision for me on how to handle this. What we've got so far, we held a meeting and we pretty much for the most part had canceled the event, but we didn't feel it was fair to do that to the city. So we're after what we think would be appropriate. The biggest concerns we've got is our legal liability if we were to have some type of an outbreak surrounding the event, because we're outside of the city. We're a corporation, myself, Bob Robertson, and we're on the board, and we're a little bit afraid of what liability we would have and what liability the city would have. So I was hoping maybe we could get some input into that, or maybe we can't. We don't know if we're going to be required, with the governor's decision today, as of 4 or 5 o'clock, whenever it was, now we really have no idea where we stand because the county's not going to announce until tomorrow what their plans are on moving forward. So we still aren't 100% sure we'll be able to even have the event regardless of what we say. But at this point, the movies in the park are going to cancel. I have no way to social distance people in a dark park. The car show is going to go forward. Bob's decided he's going to host the show as normal on the 4th of July. So big round of applause to Bob for that one. The 4th of July pageant, medallion hunt, they're going to happen before July. So we made the decision to cancel them because there's no way to really. So that one's going to be up to its host and what they decide to do for a later date. The water carnival is canceled just due to we have no idea how to keep people from passing in any type of, how to keep everything sanitized. And same with the park activities, the face painter, the inflatables, the food vendors, and just the pet show. There's no way to really socially distance those events with a bunch of, 4 and 5 and 6 year olds running around. We're probably going to have one more meeting on this to finalize it, but at this point, my suggestion would be we go forward with the fireworks, assuming that we can have some, I don't know if we could sanction them under the city or something to where it'd keep our organization, because we have no protection. We're pretty much on our own with all this. And possibly the concert to go with it. I'd had a suggestion made to us that we could possibly do it in drive-in style and have it to where people are facing towards the fireworks in their car. We've got an FM transmitter. We could put the music out over the radio. Concert we could do the same with. But, that's kind of where we're at. We're open to suggestions. So if you guys can tell us what you think, if we should go forward at all, or if we should do what we're planning, or if anybody's got any better ideas. I mean, I'm open. I've never had to deal with anything like this before. So I'm very, very unsure of what to do going forward. Does anybody have any thoughts for us?
So I think it's best you probably wait through tomorrow and kind of get some more data and fact gathering to see what you have. And then maybe you can meet with Sean and I, and we can discuss some things and decide if we need to have some type of special meeting to discuss this as an item. But you were kind of here just to give us an update on kind of the cancellation process and what everything's looking right now.
Yeah, I mean,
which is basically a fireworks show.
Basically, it's either going to be a fireworks show or it's going to be, and I've had several people contact me from out of the community asking what we're doing. And to be honest, I really wanted to hear from you guys if we even had use of the park, because I'm really not sure where we stand on this. So I just wanted to make sure we're good going forward before we do anything.
Okay. Let's get through tomorrow, see what some of those releases are, and then we'll have a discussion and we'll talk about it a little bit more.
All right.
Ben?
Yeah, I will say, just knowing some of the work that you all have been putting into this and everything, I'm really hoping once we find out more tomorrow from the county commission as to what their plans are, I really hope we can move forward with this. I know there's a lot of uneasiness overall, but the work that's put into this, the fact that we're there celebrating our freedom, it's a great way to celebrate. So I'm hoping that moving forward we're able to have some sort of a modified July 4th.
Right, and we've had a lot of interest in the parade also, I might add. So
I want to say thank you guys for all the work that you all are doing on the 4th of July events team to try to stay up with everything as well. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Well, we'd like to also thank the city for allowing us to do this for 12 years. I mean, this has probably been, of all the committees and all the volunteer work I've done, this has probably been the most fun event I've been on. And really, I hate to see it come to an end on a year we're going to be on a limited schedule, but it's been awesome.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it,
Thanks a lot.
Mr. Brown. Next, we have Patrick Dillman. Patrick?
How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
So, if y'all don't know, my name is Patrick Dillman. I'm one of the owners of 3D here in Park City. Another business that we own is 3D Promotions, which is a fireworks retail sales business. We became informed by a competitor that the fireworks sales permit pricing was actually going to increase to $6,000 from $5,000. And basically, I'm just trying to see why. The risk for the city of Park City is extremely low, considering that our insurance actually covers the city up to $2 million aggregate with $1 million per occurrence policy. The city's listed as an additional insured, and with such low, can't even think of it, with such low impact towards the city and with the minimal effort that it would actually take to enact the permits, I'm trying to see as to why you guys would feel the need to raise the permit. And granted, now this was probably voted on last year at some point, but especially now with all this going on and everything being up in the air basically, our risk is greater than ever. And to ask for more money on top of our risk, it's just not feasible, because I did a poll of the surrounding communities for their permitting pricing. Park City was already the highest in the surrounding communities. The only places where you get higher are 15 to 20 miles away, where you get into Andover, Derby, and Hayesville. Those are the three highest in the area. Within 10 miles of here, Mays is 4,000. They allow for an extra day of sales. Valley Center's just raised their permit to $1.50 a square foot, which would make our location over there about $2,600. Keachai is $1,500. Bel Air is, I actually have it here. Bel Air's permit is $2,500. Valley Center, our permit in Valley Center would be $2,250. Permit in Mays would be $4,000. Keachai is $2,500. Newton is $2,500. South Hutchinson is $2,500. El Dorado, where we have another location, is $5,000. We're actually putting another location in South Hutchinson. So right now, the greatest benefit that we have is we're a business in Park City. So we actually operate our location on our property. But we have such a relationship with Dingers, who owns the property at 69th and Meridian on the southwest corner. There was a fireworks stand there at one point. That company has since sold. And I can move into that location for no cost. It would be the cost of the gravel to gravel the lot, which would cost me about $2,000. So if I were to move 2 miles away, I could achieve the same sales by mailing to Park City, same as I mail our flyers to Valley Center. I could achieve the same sales 2 miles away and save $2,000. I'm basically, as a business owner, I'm just trying to see the benefit to keep my business where it is, which is what I would prefer, because that's where our building is. That's where it's just easy. It's easy for us there. But when you're starting to get into thousands of dollars, you start looking at, it might be easier, but what's more feasible? If I can save this money and move elsewhere, if I can save this money, and if anything were to happen to the tent, my insurance will cover my tent, will cover my product. It won't cover my permit. It won't cover any lost sales or anything like that. So I'm trying to mitigate my risk here. And with, like I said, I'm just unsure as to why the permit needed to be raised to begin with. $5,000, if I were to put that same tent up for a wedding, it's $250. If I were to put that same tent up for a garage sale or an event, it's $250 for the permit. But just because it's fireworks, it's $5,000, which I believe the city administrator told me that you guys use that funds for your public outreach. You use it for community events, things of that nature, which I understand. That's why I'm in Park City. But just to add more to an already high permit is just, I just don't understand. So to make back my existing permit, I have to sell $12,000 worth of fireworks. To make back my existing $5,000, because I have to cover the cost of the fireworks and the cost of the permits. With the price raising, you have to go to 14, almost 15,000 just in sales. When our first year in business, now granted this was our fault, we did 18,000 sales our first year. So there's a lot of risk on our end there's not a lot of risk assumed by the city due to how our insurance is worded, due to what actually happens. Because if somebody goes and gets hurt, they can't sue the city. They can sue us as a tin operator for the damage of product or damage of personal property. So I believe that's it. I mean, I'd emailed everyone this. I emailed this back on May 12th. I didn't receive any response. I emailed every council member on May 12th. I actually called my council members. I'm in Ward 1, so I believe I called you and I called Mr. Schroeder. And I left you both a message. And Mr. Schroeder was actually kind enough. He did call me back. He directed me to the city administrator, who I did talk to briefly. And he did tell me that you guys discussed this on an agenda in December, I think on the 10th. I believe. I'm not certain on the exact date, but he did say in December. And he said at that time you guys did invite firework retailers to the meeting. You actually reached out to them and invited them to the meeting and asked for their input. So another question was, we're a retailer. We're actually local. We're listed in Park City. And I mean, we hadn't heard anything of it until we were told by Shocker Fireworks that this was happening, and then we received our paperwork in the mail to confirm it. Really, that's it.
All right. Well, if a council member wants to reach out to me, we can rediscuss this again. I think the best thing to do is we had a lengthy discussion about this, and then we made a decision, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So if somebody reaches out to me and wants me to bring this back to an agenda item later, we can.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. That brings us to staff reports. And I don't believe we have anything this evening, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Ben?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve it.
And George?
Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. That brings us to item 6 under new business, which is discuss and consider the appointment of a city treasurer. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Mayor, Man, and Council, for your consideration this evening is the appointment of a new treasurer position. And the reason that we have an opening is because Josh Lauber, who has been our treasurer for a period of time, is moving out of the city. So we thank him for his service to the city. What we did in order to fill this position is that we posted the position. We received several applications, and then Dee Grunder, Director of Finance, and myself, we approached this like we would any position of value to the city. We did interviews, we did background, we did references. And through that process, we have identified Jamie May, who is someone that we believe has the background, the skill, the experience, and she has I think, a really good fit for us. So we would like to introduce Jamie May for your consideration.
Do you want to say anything? You feel free to. I think it's encouraging, and I know every time we have to post for a position like this, when it comes to something that has requirements in the city, we're always nervous because sometimes we don't get great candidates, and we have recently, and here again this evening, we have another great candidate that lives here in Park City to fill this role for us, and I know Jamie is excited about it. Tom?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the appointment of Jamie May as city treasurer.
Randy? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 7, which is discuss and consider the purchase of 2 police vehicles. Chief Boston?
Mr. Mayor, council members, the fleet replacement plan that Sean introduced recently calls for replacing police vehicles at 80,000 miles or 6 years. The police department has 2 unmarked what we call a trip vehicle that need to be sold. One of them is a 2011 Ford Fusion with 90,053 miles, and a 2013 Ford Explorer that has 82,719 miles. The department has two marked vehicles that need to be unmarked. One, which is a 2014 Ford Explorer that has almost 80,000 miles, 79,400, and a marked 2015 Ford Explorer, which needs to be unmarked and designated as a trip vehicle or a spare vehicle. We propose purchasing two replacement vehicles to be designated as marked patrol vehicles along with the necessary installed equipment. The fiscal impact of this would be $105,474 to be paid from the 2020 Police Department budget. The staff recommends purchasing two 2020 Ford F-150 police responder pickups from Shawnee Mission Ford for $68,284. The vehicle equipment and installation from Superior Emergency Response Vehicles for $37,190. Again, the total recommended expenditure is $105,474. Just as kind of an aside here, this is a challenging time for trying to buy police vehicles because the usual choices are pretty slim right now. Dodge with their Charger police vehicle, they're backed way up for months upon months. You can't even get them. The Ford Explorer is the same thing because they shut down production and they're actually retooling and coming out with a different model. So they are all backed up on vehicles. We have talked about trying to diversify our fleet a little bit, so this gives us, I guess we could see it as an opportunity to try to do something that would provide a little bit more diversity. The three bids, or they're actually quotes, I guess, that we received. One is for a 2020 Dodge Durango Pursuit for $32,549. Second is 2020 Ford F-150 4x4 police responder pickup. This is a Pursuit rated police pickup. That's fairly new for Ford. I think maybe about 3 or 4 years now in the market. Number 3 was a 2021 Ford Utility Police Interceptor.
Somewhere in here that said 5.0 or 5 point something. I didn't know if we were doing it.
I think maybe, sir, you might have seen the code enforcement truck, and there's a mistake in that. I'll let you know right now. So that may be what you were looking at. I'm guessing. I think that's the only thing I saw.
We're paying to upgrade to a bigger motor that probably wasn't going to need it. So
yeah, correct.
Okay. So neither one of them is getting an upgrade.
On the
code enforcement's not either.
No, that was a mistake, and that's on the code enforcement vehicle. And I was going to mention that, but yes, you're correct on that. That's a mistake. So the 3.5 liter would be the EcoBoost engine, which is a 6-cylinder turbocharged engine.
Okay. Ben?
Yeah, I go ahead and make a motion to approve the quote from Shawnee Mission Ford for two 2020 Ford F-150 police responder pickups in the amount of $68,284, and the quote from Superior Emergency Response Vehicles for vehicle equipment and installation in the amount of $37,190 to be paid out of the 2020 Police Department budget.
Our second, George? Okay. Is there any further discussion?
I just have I'm sorry. I have a
Tom
comment.
and then Melvin.
REAP's working on a deal right now where Ford has talked about selling Rustiac cars and making them available for less than state price. That hasn't been resolved yet because you have to be a dedicated nonprofit, and we've got to file for that. But in the future, they may be beating Olathe. I don't know how they can do that because state, I would think, would have to be the best price, but evidently they're not.
I appreciate the information. We'll check into that.
Right.
So I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
Okay, Melvin?
These other cars you're getting rid of, they're going on Blue Wave?
Yes, sir, they're going Purple Wave.
Okay. And
Yes.
Is that money going back into the kitty for the...
Right now, seeing how the vehicle replacement plan was approved but not yet funded, that money goes back into the general fund which could be allocated or steered towards the vehicle replacement plan.
Okay.
And that was one of the tenets that we had proposed originally, is any vehicle that gets sold, that goes back into making that account healthier sooner.
Yeah, I think it'd be good seed money.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Not seeing any. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. And that brings us to item 8, which is discuss and consider the purchase of a code enforcement vehicle. Chief?
Mr. Mayor, council members, the 2020 code enforcement budget provided funding to replace one of the 2 pickups. Right now, the code enforcement officers have 2 pickup trucks available. They have a 2016 Ford F-150 with about 14,000 miles and a 2006 Chevy Colorado with 75,127 miles. Chevy Colorado is, even for its age, is not in very good condition. And now that we have 3 code enforcement officers, it's very important that we have 2 vehicles that are in good working order. We've spaced out their schedules in such a way that there's not much overlap in their schedules, but it's very important that we have at least 2 vehicles to go among the 3, because there are times when their schedules do overlap. Staff proposes selling the 2006 Chevy Colorado and replacing it with a 2020 Ford F-150 pickup, along with the necessary equipment. The fiscal impact would be that the 2020 code enforcement budget includes $36,000 in capital outlay funds for a vehicle and equipment. Staff recommends the Ford F-150 4x2 or 2-wheel drive special service vehicle from Shawnee Mission Ford for $28,246. The vehicle and equipment installation from Superior Emergency Response Vehicles for $29.10. A topper from Topper's Truck Accessories Plus for $35.03. Tailgate lift from Kansas Truck Equipment Company for $1,888.05. And total recommended expenditure is $36,547.05 from the 2020 code enforcement budget. The quotes that were included, as Mr. Jones mentioned, the first quote there, that is incorrect, where, I'm sorry, the second one was incorrect, where I believe you have on the actual quote itself, it shows 5.0 liter. None of these are a 5 liter. They have the 3.5 liter V6 engine, so that was a mistake, and I apologize for that. The first bid was for 2020 Ford F-150 Crew Cab 4x2 5.5 bed special service vehicle. And just to explain, the special service vehicle is a designation that Ford gives to, it's basically like a work truck. It has kind of a downgraded trim level. You don't have chrome and so forth on it. So it presents a little bit lower profile for the public. When they look at, I guess by appearance, the public generally doesn't like to look and see and think that that government has spent a lot of money. If there's a lot of chrome on it, that's kind of the thought. But they downgrade the inside by putting in rather than carpet, putting in rubber floor mats, and that's actually a benefit for the work that we do, where you don't have to worry about the carpet, you can just wash it out. Also has a little bit higher output alternator, which helps with the radio and the light package that we have. The number 2 quote there was for the non-SSV Ford. It's just a 4x2 Ford pickup, but it's not the special service vehicle. And you notice the price is just slightly more for that. The reason is that it's not on the state of Kansas contract, and the state of Kansas contract is, generally speaking, has been the lowest price that we've been able to find. Usually the other dealers around here won't even they won't take the time to give us a bid if they know that we're going to go with the state contract. So that one is actually a little bit more. The number 3 vehicle on the list is the special service vehicle for $31,185. The recommended vehicle, staff recommends the Ford F-150 4x2 special service vehicle from Shawnee Mission Ford. I mentioned how that kind of is different than a regular Ford F-150. It's on the state of Kansas contract price, which applies only to the SSV, Special Service Vehicle, and not to the other regular Ford F-150. The four-wheel drive version would cost about $2,900 more, and I don't think it's necessary for the work that we do. A tailgate lift is necessary, and we do have those on both of the code enforcement vehicles that we have now, because the code enforcement officers sometimes have to lift heavy, dogs sometimes over 100 pounds, and deceased animals, and when they're doing this by themselves, we have the potential for injuries and workers' comp and so forth. The topper is also necessary to keep the animals enclosed. So vehicle costs for the special service vehicle is $28,246. The upfitting costs of $2,910, $1,888 for the topper. The tailgate lift, the lowest price of the two was Kansas Truck Equipment at $3,503 for a total of $36,547.05.
Okay.
So I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Ben?
I'm convinced. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the quote from Shawnee Mission Ford for a Ford F-150 4x2 special service vehicle in the amount of $28,246. Superior Emergency Response Vehicles for vehicle equipment and installation in the amount of $2,910. Topper Truck Accessories Plus for a topper in the amount of $3,503. And then Kansas Truck Equipment Company for a tailgate lift in the amount of $1,888.05 to be paid out of the 2020 code enforcement budget.
George? John?
Sir, if I may, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the two numbers for the truck topper and for the lift are transposed. I believe it's $1,888 for the topper and $3,503 for the lift.
Are you looking at the agenda item?
I'm looking at the front page, but on the second page, you have the truck topper listed for $1,800, and that seems a little bit more reasonable. $1,800 for the topper.
That's what I've got.
Yeah, this is correct, but this one here as well as the agenda has been transposed.
So Ben, did you want to?
Yeah, listen, I'll amend that to reflect 1888.05 for the Topper Truck Accessories Plus and 3503 for Kansas Truck Equipment Company for a tailgate lift.
George?
Thank
Okay.
you.
You got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Sure.
That brings us to item 9, which is discuss and consider approving the purchase of a replacement utility terrain vehicle and the 72-inch mower for the Parks Department. Zach?
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. All right. During the 2020 budget cycle, Public Works completed an assessment of departmental equipment requiring replacement. As a result, the Parks Department determined that the following equipment required replacement. The 2004 John Deere Gator utility vehicle and the 2015 Gravely 472 72-inch zero-turn mower. They were both in dire need of replacement. The John Deere has 1,746 hours. The Gravely has 802 hours. Both machines have seen a substantial increase in repair cost and the price and a great price depreciation. Staff sought estimates from more than 8 dealerships and have received 3 proposals for the utility vehicle and 5 for the mower. Out of those proposals, I took it and combined 3 different combinations of the utility vehicle mower combos from the top 3 choices. One from Kansas Golf and Turf for the 2020 Hustler MDV with the level lift bed for $24,892. The 2020 Hustler Super Z 35 horsepower 72-inch mower for $10,915.69 for a total of $35,308.69. Number 2 from Prairie Land Partners. 2019 John Deere Gator XUV, 35M, 27,992 and 82 cents. And a 2019 John Deere Z 970R, 35 horsepower, 72-inch mower for $12,342.63. And that was a total of $37,635.45. They did have a trade allowance, including that price, for hour 2 for $2,700. And then the third one was from Ravenscraft, and that was for the 2020 Kubota RTV X1100 for $21,874.37, and the 2020 Kubota ZD 1211 27 horsepower diesel 72-inch zero-turn mower, and that was for $13,978.35 for a total of $35,852.72. The fiscal impact of this is it's a budgeted item from for this year, but staff recommends taking the $32,575 that was budgeted be paid out of the parks, capital and outlay, and machinery equipment, and any overages will be taken care of out of a different parks department line item. So our recommendation after going through all these is to purchase the 2020 Kubota RTV X1100 and the matching Kubota ZD 1211 72-inch from Ravenscraft for $35,852.72.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Brandy?
So the difference between the first quote from Kansas Golf and Turf and then the third quote, Ravenscraft implement, is only approximately $500 difference. How come we decided to go with Ravenscraft instead of going with a local vendor? I mean, is there a difference between a Hustler and a Kubota?
Honestly, there's several reasons. With the UTV itself, the Kubota UTV, both of them are cabbed and climate control, but the Kubota itself, the doors and everything that come with it, it's all factory made. So the quality of the doors, the quality of the cab, it's all coming, it's coming from the factory, pre-made like that. So the doors, windows, it's going to be a heavier frame door. It's not going to be I guess what you would call it, a third-party vendor that puts it on. The windows will roll down. The ones that come with the Hustler, it's an all-glass door that opens up. So if a glass breaks, you replace the whole glass door versus a window that, if it breaks on the cab, then you would just be replacing a window. All the components inside the cab, they're coming factory made. Everything's built to work together. The Hustler itself is built and made to handle a vast amount of attachments. There's so many different attachments. I've talked to City Valley Center, just purchased a Hustler UTV. I've talked to a couple people. Asplin, they use the Kubotas. Man, everyone I've talked to has really loved it. If I can be totally honest, these two of the three brought equipment out for us to test, and we got to test for quite a while. The top one, we begged them to bring equipment out, and they promised they would drop it off. The UTV, they brought it out, showed it to us for 10 minutes, and they left. The mower, they never brought us a mower, ever. So, they brought us paper. So we tried the other ones out for, over a week, both of them in our parks, hand on touch. And, our shop was able to look at it, both departments, street and parks, they were able to use it. And, so we came to a unanimous decision, that this was what we liked, so.
Okay. Tom? John?
The first one's a gas motor. And that's a little bit different. I know you're going to see a little bit different in the horsepower, but man, that diesel, it sure makes a difference. It sure does. Yeah, and that's the big difference in the two. They're similar, showing in Nick and Terry over at the maintenance shop. There's a lot of pluses to that. There's same filters and different things that they can service the equipment with also. Yes.
Okay, Brandy?
Just one more question. So on the first one with the Kansas Golf and Turf, it's with a level lift bed, and then on the third one, there's not. What's a level lift bed? And is that important?
That was actually a really big, that was going to be a really big selling point. It's a really cool feature that they do have, and I believe it's the only feature that they have that just blows everyone else's door. It just comes off. It lifts up. Not only does it dump, but it'll lift up, and it completely, just like the
lift gate on the pickup.
like a lift gate on a code enforcement truck. It'll lift, it'll lower down. You can pick things up like that. I mean, that would be a great feature, but unfortunately, that would be the only feature on this that would be the plus. So,
is that something then that the quote that you're asking for us to approve, that they could add that on?
No.
Is it something that can be added on?
Unfortunately, no. They're the only manufacturer that does this. So.
I do have one comment, and that is, it's sad to hear that the quality of service wasn't there for a Park City vendor.
Right.
It ends up being low bidder.
Really, that's the truth, honestly.
So it's sad.
Ben?
Well, I'll echo what Tom said on there. Love to give it to local companies when possible, but
I tried. I really tried.
And they're almost Sedgwick County, where Ravenscraft is at there in Whitewater. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
It is.
So, sure would love to see it here, but I trust the work that you all put into it, and so I would make a motion to approve the quotes from Ravenscraft Implement in the amount of $35,852.72 for a 2020 Kubota RTV X1100 for $21,874.37, and then a 2020 Kubota ZD 121127 HP diesel 72-inch mower for $13,978.35 to be paid out of the Parks Department budget.
George? Okay. We got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Zach. That brings us to item 10, which is consider scheduling a special meeting for the June 30th, 2020 to discuss planning and zoning case. Sean?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As many of you have been already briefed, we have a zoning case that's going before Planning and Zoning the middle part of June, and the applicant has requested that if at all possible to move for their timeline for their project, if we could expedite that. And so we wanted to make certain that there's at least the 14-day gap in between there, just in case a petition is raised. It's not a regular council night, but it is a Tuesday night, so we're recommending to hold a special meeting on June 30th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Any discussion? Tom?
I'd move to approve the scheduling of a special council meeting to discuss planning and zoning case on June 30th, 2020 at 6 p.m.
George?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Melvin?
I'm not sure, but I may be out of town that week, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes 7-0. Get back to that was all we had this evening. So we'll move on to governing body reports, and we'll start with
George?
Okay, Mayor, I have a couple of things. One, just before, excuse me, just before this pandemic hit, I had been up here in administration visiting with Sean, and when I came out into the lobby, I observed there was a young couple standing there at the water desk, and the lady was crying. And there was a lady sitting on the bench out there who I've known for many, many years. And she was sitting there with a checkbook in her hand. And I walked over and just made conversation with her for a minute. Asked her, said, "You here to pay your water bill?" And she said, "Yeah, but," she said, "first I'm going to take care of these people here." And I said, "Oh?" I said, "You know them?" She said, "No, I don't know them, but," said, "when I came up here, she was crying, and I inquired and said their water had been shut off, and they just wasn't able to do anything about it. And this young couple was very upset, so she said, "I've got April figuring it all up," and she said, "I'm going to take care of it for them." And she did. She wrote a check, pretty good sized check, to take care of these young people, and I just think that that was very nice of her. In this generation and me generation, to see someone that's that unselfish, see someone that's in trouble and is willing to help them, I think speaks miracles about some of the residents we have here. And the other thing is, we just come off Memorial Day, and I was watching a deal on television yesterday, and we have 81,900 POW missing in actions. And Mayor, for years we flew the POW MIA flag here at City Hall, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me, we quit doing it. And I don't know why, but I would personally, I'd personally like to see it flying. Those people, some of them not of their own accord, some of them were drafted by our government, sent to fight in a foreign war, and we don't know who they are, we know who they are, but we don't know what happened to them. And I think they deserve our recognition. And like I say, I don't know why we quit. It wasn't a council decision. I don't know if it was one of those things that just the flag wore out and never got replaced, and because of different people in administration, it's possible it just got overlooked. But I sure would appreciate it if you and Sean would look into that, because I think those people deserve our recognition. That's all I have. Thank you.
Agreed. Tom?
I've had several phone calls and discussions over the past couple of weeks, and I'll come up here and talk to Sean about a couple of them because I don't want to talk about them tonight, not in public. But I do have one I got a phone call on today, a lady with a dilemma. The stormwater ordinance that we passed, and her sump pump that runs all the time and nowhere to put the water. And she's wanting to know how she's going to deal with that. And she's already talked to compliance about it once and didn't get a good satisfaction, or wasn't satisfied with the answer. It didn't work. And she's tried to work with a plumber and some other things. So I'd like to come up, talk to you about that one too. So
Happy
give you a heads up on it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Brandy? George?
Yeah, I've been looking at the virtual fishing derby. We had to cancel that. I know people were looking at the virtual since we had to cancel our Park City Fishing Derby. We weren't able to get that together, but next year we're looking forward to our Park City Fishing Derby, which will be even better than it was last year. So we just look forward to that. Again, always check on your neighbors. I encourage all the residents to know that we're going to get through this. So I encourage them to help our neighbors, but also the elderly, the people that you know that are in need of food or medications, to help them as you can, and just also for the veterans that were appreciated over the weekend, being a veteran myself, and what they meant to this country. I appreciated the veterans, and also the fact that people are suffering a lot with depression and anxiety right now because of the virus and what people are going through. So I just encourage people to get help. There's Palm Care, there's some other 211 Kansas where you can go to get information on who to call about some of the things that you're suffering from. So I'd encourage our residents to do so. Thank you.
Okay. Melvin?
I don't have anything.
Ben?
Yeah, I was going to mention last week was Public Works Week, and want to say thank you to all of our great Public Works employees that have done a phenomenal job across our city. It looks great out there. The flags look great flying over the weekend there, so thank you to our great Public Works Department. Also, one last thing that I would like us to consider, as mentioned during the public forum, would be a consideration, at least for this year, to lower the fireworks fees down to $5,000 for the simple fact that this is an issue that's going to affect businesses within our community, as we already can see, with the ability for people to celebrate this year, even in financial harder times with everything going on. I think the least we can do during a situation like this is look to lower that fee back down, at least for this coming year. So I'd love to see that brought back here and have a good discussion on that.
John?
I don't have anything, but I guess, do we plan to have a discussion item in the next meeting on that, or?
We can talk about that. I mean, for sure. I mean, there's some negative things to doing that too. So I think it would be good to bring it back and we can discuss it if we want to. But I feel like we made a decision on it. We had valid information when we did that, and I'm not sure lowering the rate to encourage more people to come in our community is a good idea in the current climate. But we can certainly bring it back and talk about it.
Not in favor of it, I'm just saying, if we are, I mean, my issue is if we lower the fee to the vendors, it doesn't mean it's passed on to the people that are buying it. So, pockets of people that are having the stands. I'm not. But, yeah. That's it. I'd make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Ben? Okay. Got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. Thank you.